Hi everybody, thanks for joining us. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Peter Llewellyn. I run the services, information services, resources and so on at MedComsNetworking.com. So services for the global MedComms community, by which I mean people who work in and around medical communications, medical education, medical publishing, and so on. And we're running lots of these sorts of webinars. You'll find them recorded and the recordings over at NetworkPharma TV. There's several hundred now videos over there to have a look at. But look at medcomsnetworking.com and you'll find all sorts of resources. One of the things we've done a lot over the last few years is talk about the business and the businesses within the business, the companies as it were, for people who are interested in getting a job as a medical writer, account manager, editor, whatever. So we've got a resource at FirstMedCommsJob.com, which hopefully provides lots of useful information and signposts and so on. And again, we're running webinars on the back of FirstMedCommsJob, like today, when we're inviting agencies to come along and talk about themselves basically, and what they offer to people who would like to get into the business. So absolutely delighted today to have the guys here from I've even lost the name. HCG. That wasn't a very good start. Apologies about that. Healthcare Consultancy Group, HCG. Sorry, I nearly got that wrong, guys. Sorry about that. I'm not going to steal their thunder at all. I'm just going to invite them to talk to us about their business and the group. And we're going to have a little presentation and we're going to have some Q&A. So those of you in the audience today, get ready to put your comments into the chat box and the Q&A box and so on. But over to Piers to kick us off, I believe. Yeah.
Thank you, Peter. Really appreciate it. So I'll just start sharing some slides and we'll go from there. No, really appreciate it. Thank you for the lovely introduction. Our thunder remains well intact at this point, and we're excited to be talking to you today. So good afternoon. My name's Piers. Thank you everyone for joining from all over the world. We're really excited to share a little bit about our journeys, a little bit about HCG, a little bit about what the future of MedComms could be and your role possibly within it, if so you chose. So I'm speaking at the moment on behalf of the team that we're excited to be here. We're especially excited to answer any of your questions. Please put them in the chat, as Peter's already mentioned. We're really excited to stay at the end and talk a little bit more about what things are on your mind or what things you might want to consider when choosing a future career in MedComms. So it's my pleasure and our pleasure to represent the team today. There's over 1,000 employees within HCG, that's Healthcare Consultancy Group, and its agencies. And we've got a number of people from the different agencies here today to talk to you about their culture, a little bit about the initiatives we have. My background, I'm extremely excited to be here. I presented many moons ago previously on MedComms networking before, and excited to have another stab at it. My background is I'm a digital strategist. I've worked in pharma for over a decade, and I've seen a great deal of digital transformation. My background proves that was actually in law and business rather than through science. So it's definitely a career that's open to people with a broad background. And I'm excited to talk to you about not only the digital and creative initiatives, but also more of the unconventional journey it happens that we can take when it comes to joining MedComms, and hand over to my team, Ruthline, David and Ailsa. So Ruthline.
Thanks, Piers. So hi, everybody. I'm Ruthline, Executive Director, Scientific Services for Chameleon, one of the agencies within HCG. So after leaving university, I worked in clinical diagnostics for a few years and then moved into academic research. And after a few years of that, finally moved into medical communications. So I'm really looking forward to speaking with you today.
Is that me next? Yep. Hello, I'm Dave Proudfoot. I head up talent acquisition for HCG in the UK. I've been here for almost 8 years, and I've worked in medical communications recruitment for over 25 years. I've also worked in-house previously for pharma and for clinical research organizations. And way before all that, I started my career in IT and pharma.
And hi, everyone. I'm Ailsa Stewart. I'm Managing Director at Synergy. I studied in Glasgow. I saw somebody on the line there from Glasgow, studied pharmacology. I then went into research, like I think many people do, and quite quickly, like many people do, realize that that wasn't for me. And thought pharma, would be a place I could sort of stay with the scientific community. And so I joined a pharmaceutical company and was a scientific advisor there. And I actually saw one of my colleagues who is in Hove, my old colleagues who I haven't spoken to for a long time joined. So nice to be connected with you again, Shan. And I then was there for a few years and then thought, no, I'm going to go to agency. Agency will bring kind of the diversity and the creativity that I think will play to my strengths. And so that's what I did. And I'm now managing director here. So let me tell you a bit more about Healthcare Consultancy Group. We're a network of agencies and a global leader in medical communications. We're actually 8 MedComms agencies, but we all have a shared vision, which is to accelerate product understanding and acceptance to bring our clients' medicines closer to the patients who need them. Our 2 UK-based agencies are Chameleon and Synergy on the left of this slide, along with the Engagement Group, who are our digital and creative partner, where Piers sits. We also frequently partner up and collaborate with our sister HCG agencies in the US, and we've got hubs in Canada and the Philippines, and individuals all over the world in this new sort of hybrid virtual environment that we work in. So lots of different perspectives, I guess, and different opportunities to meet people and experience different cultures. And we want to meet anyone who's interested in a career in MedComms. You don't need a PhD, you don't even need a science degree for that matter. There's opportunities in scientific services, but also client services, our digital and creative groups, strategic services, project management, even regulatory and access. So if you've got relevant experience, that's just as good a route in as a degree is. And what do we actually do every day? As I said on the previous slide, we try and bring science and medicine closer to the patients who need them. And we do that through crafting compelling scientific stories that resonate with audiences and trying to reach those audiences where they choose to consume information. We work with our pharma and biotech clients to provide education to healthcare professionals that supports them in making good decisions about the treatment for their patients. And on the right-hand side of the slide, you can see some of the different types of materials that we develop. That goes from, the publication of a clinical trial to scientific platforms, which is, an internal document on which all the kind of marketing materials for product would be based, or all the educational materials. We look at customer journey maps, disease state awareness, and even, regulatory support, roadmaps, etc. And these materials form the foundation of our targeted communications across channels that we hope change the way that healthcare professionals practice medicine. Through providing them with the latest data, guidelines, best practice, and expert opinion in an accessible and easy to digest format, delivered in live in a congress or a meeting setting, but also more and increasingly online and social channels. The ways that we're communicating sort of evolve and expand all the time. And what we're communicating is complex and technical, but we are able to make it visually impactful, and we're very considerate around who's the end audience that we're trying to make this appropriate for and deliver it in the way that is best for them. Ruthline.
So thanks, Ailsa. And we've been working with we work with medical affairs functions in pharmaceutical companies, and currently we work with over 50 pharmaceutical companies and biotechs, and that includes some of the major, larger companies that perhaps some of you will have heard of. And we like to describe medical communications as being transformational. Why do we say that? We say that, if you can go to maybe the next slide, Piers, thanks. So we talk about medical communications as being transformational because really we support education of both clinicians and of patients. In terms of the clinicians, we help them in terms of bringing new evidence about medical advances, and that helps them to make informed therapeutic decisions. But also in terms of the patients, we feel that we empower them and we help them to be able to better participate in their own healthcare and decisions about their health. And where do our priorities lie? Well, you know, we, first of all, you know, we are for our people. We're passionate about our people, and we're driven by helping really to empower our employees to take control of their own careers. We want to inspire our clients. Piers has already mentioned, you know, a lot of ongoing innovations and changes over medical communications across the years, and we really want to be at the forefront of that and inspire our clients and take them on the journey with us, as well as have an impact in our communities, which we might say a little bit more about later.
Okay, so at HCG, cheesy but true, we really do put our people first, and that's because they're the bedrock upon which we build our success. It's fair to say there's no better place to grow your career, because we're very keen to progress people quickly. And having been here for nearly 8 years, I've got lots of what I call career success stories. People like yourself who have flourished in this environment that encourages curiosity, challenging ideas, and forward thinking. So how do we empower our people? Well, firstly, by developing their knowledge in both science and communications. And as Ailsa said, there's lots of other areas that you can get involved in, but also we're one of the leaders in the industry through the use of innovation. And we also empower our people just through the digital transformation. If you like, the rocket fuel behind that empowerment is connecting our people to our purpose and also harnessing the strength of our diversity. So let's have a look at how we do that. It all starts with great people. And I, for one, am very proud to be surrounded by very talented, smart and curious minds at HCG. I guess what we say is we can't grow as a business without growing our people. So there is a huge emphasis on training and development and essentially getting people to where they want to be. We have training at all levels, as you can see on this slide. We have training at the individual HCG company level, but also up within the wider group of Omnicom. And Ruthline mentioned the clients that we're working with. Well, actually, across the whole of HCG Group, we now work with over 70 clients globally, and that's in over 100 therapy areas. So keeping up to date and relevant, always moving forward, this is paramount to our success. Our people have access to over 100 training sessions, and this is with the support of a dedicated learning and development team. And then, of course, we have our industry-leading HCG Academy, which is a structured, comprehensive, immersive live program. And this is to embrace and engage all of our new colleagues seamlessly into their careers at HCG. This is an event that's quite new for us from a global scale, and we run this maybe a few times a year, depending on our needs. And it's just a fantastic way for entry-level people to come into the industry. I'd also say that we're always growing and expanding what we can offer our clients. So, for example, recently we introduced we built a specialist agency known as Lumen, which brings support in the area of value and access. And also going back to the new cool stuff, if you like, with the growing need for the different approaches to how we deliver content, HCG have made significant investment in positions like data scientist, digital strategist, social media people, immersive media specialists, and all of these guys work very closely with our teams. Oh, Piers, is that you?
I muted, apologies.
Sorry.
As a digital strategist, my focus is working alongside the agencies. So we've got Chameleon and Synergy represented today through Ailsa and Ruthline. And our focus is actually to improve the ways we engage and communicate with healthcare professionals around the world. We've built an infrastructure of innovation with over 70 innovation catalysts across our agencies, and their role is to educate, train, and inspire the rest of the 1,000-strong team that we have around us. So bringing new ideas, talking about what the latest developments are. We're looking to see how we can actually progress and transform medical communications. So if you were to join and choose to progress at HCG, this is a group you can be considered for. You can investigate the latest innovations and see how you would want to bring it to life for the benefit of HCPs and patients around the world. It's this mindset of innovation that enables us to better support the entire industry within medical affairs. When it comes to digital transformation, we have a powerhouse of over 130 digital creative and data specialists within the engagement group, as was described. Actually, but within the entire group of HCG, there's over 20% of us are actually dedicated to drive innovation. Part of their remit, part of their goals, what a successful year looks like is by being involved in driving innovation. That's a huge commitment from HCG to empower Synergy and Chameleon to be better medical affairs partners for their clients. We've brought so many exciting digital transformation projects to life with our clients, whether that be metaverse pilots, omnichannel projects, VR, digital opinion leader engagement, immersive scientific storytelling, and the list goes on. We do this to bring creative thinking to medical affairs today and to drive the industry forward in the future. We'll only move forward if we can do this as a team, and we'd be excited to see if you want to join that team.
And we're also intentional about taking the time to reflect on our purpose, which is around bringing medicines closer to the patients who need them, and Work with a Purpose is an internal HCG program where we bring patients who've been impacted by the medicines we work on into our all agency meetings to hear their stories, and hearing experiences firsthand helps myself and the people around me to connect with the work that we do, and really remind us why we do what we do and the role that we play in this. We've also launched a program called Purpose Unleashed, which allows individuals within our agencies to support their own charitable passions with the support of HCG resources.
We're really passionate about diversity and inclusivity. And this is because we understand that by embracing our different perspectives, we bring greater creativity, we enhance innovation, and also we strengthen decision-making. We have a DEI Council, and the DEI Council really focuses on recruitment, retention, and advancement of our diverse team members. We place a great emphasis on celebrating our differences, so we celebrate different cultural events across the year, and we really hope that we will continue to build on this commitment to diversity.
What does this transformation that we've been talking about actually mean for client work? How can we bring the diversity of thinking and the creativity and the great knowledge that we have across the group? How can we make that, turn this into reality? So let's have a little look. There's a few projects that I wanted to talk through today, and just mention briefly that we can talk about more in the Q&A afterwards. We've used VR to show diabetic retinopathy through where we can actually show the experience through the patient's eyes to bring home to HCPs the true impact of the condition on patients. As anyone who's familiar with MedComms, the big part of it will be actually providing empathy and getting people to understand the patient burden and quality of life. And this is a key technology that allows us to do this. We've actually looked to simplify communication for MSLs, so medical scientific liaisons, talking to HCPs about highly complex manufacturing process for a vaccine, enabling physicians to better understand the science behind the product. We also focus a lot around social media and DOLs, looking at the disease awareness. In this case, it's a disease awareness tutorial designed to inform and engage HCPs on Twitter. We've created a virtual lab, replacing face-to-face preceptorships. We've created 5 rooms and 30 interactive hotspots for live small group learning using VR technology in oncology. But it isn't just about digital and social media. As Ruthline was talking about, well, a big focus is actually how we can partner and inspire our clients. So a big part of what we're talking about is health equity and diversity and inclusion, and that should be part of the projects that we're looking to develop as much as it's a part of the teams that we are trying to run.
And taking that thread of diversity, equity and inclusion and health inequities that brings us to our community, and who do we consider our community to be? I think it's the people in the organisation, and it's the people that we work with. It's also the specialists that we are trying to engage with, as well as the areas in which our offices are located. And we try to be community minded across all those groups and go beyond the work to engage, enrich, and to do the right thing. And we've mentioned DEI, we've mentioned health inequities. We also, and Ruthline will come back to health inequities in a second. We also try to ensure that we are making sustainable choices and decisions to keep us and everyone around us fit for the future. But success for our clients is what we're striving for, and will keep us successful. We feel it's our responsibility to kind of build this future together, and we do that with transformational ideas and fresh thinking, which brings me to thought leadership. In order to bring the best thinking and ideas to our clients, as Piers has kind of mentioned, we need to be continually looking at what's next. Where's the future? What will transform what we're doing right now? What will it look like in 5 years' time? And how can we use it to better tackle the challenges that our clients bring to us? You know, we need to be at the forefront of this, driving the thought leadership. And Futurum is our internal multidisciplinary think tank that dives into some of the topics that you see here, AI being, you know, hot at the moment particularly, and their findings and recommendations feed our thought leadership program called Collective Intelligence. And I'll let Ruthline talk a bit more to health disparities.
Excellent. So, I mean, unfortunately, even in 2023, healthcare is not equal. And how can we impact this? Well, part of that is ensuring that our activities and our materials actively communicate and educate on health disparities and the impact that that has. So we want to improve awareness, but more importantly, we want our activities really to lead to action. So we established an HCG Health Disparities and Inequities Council, and we've participated in a number of educational webinars and other educational activities around this topic. We really want to be at the forefront of this change and, you know, address this issue through our activities. And we really hope that our efforts in this space will have a significant impact in actually reducing health inequity moving forward.
So I hope that we've been able to give you a flavour of HCG today and some insight into how we empower our employees and how we inspire our clients and how we, you know, try to be part of doing the right thing and bringing communities forward. We're, you know, continually growing, bringing new clients on all the time, you know, working on cutting edge therapies, and there's really exciting opportunities here, and we welcome expertise across all disciplines to come and join us. So if HCG and any of its agencies are interesting for you, then definitely, you know, get in touch with us and let us know. We'd love to chat more. But I'm going to hand back now to Peter, and I think we'll maybe take a few of your questions.
Excellent, thanks guys, that was great. To the audience that are here on the day, can I just remind you, you've got two text boxes, a chat box and a Q&A box, so please feed any questions or comments into those and we'll pick up on them and build them into the conversation. Otherwise, we're just winging it, guys. So I'd like to start with something that was going through my head, and I hope I didn't miss it, but I don't think I did, and I'm going to suggest, Ailsa, maybe you can answer this. It was mentioned in passing, I think it was David that mentioned Omnicom. Just you've concentrated on HCG and your 8 agencies and so on, but just give us that bigger picture, what you're part of, just so that people can understand. Because you know, looking around MedComms, they'll find the other agencies and so on. So just explain the bigger picture if you can do that.
I will do my best. So HCG is part of Omnicom Health Group, which brings together all of Omnicom specialist agencies in health. So that includes PR and professional promotion agencies, as well as peer agencies, etc. So all health dedicated agencies. And then that group sits within Omnicom, which I don't have the stats to hand if Piers, David or Ruthline, you do. Thousands of people, I think it's 1,500 agencies, I think, globally, with a presence in, you know, most markets. So Omnicom is a big, huge organization, and HCG is the specialist MedComms group that sits within that. Excellent.
I just think it's worth painting that sort of picture so that people understand that the big picture. And then just picking up on a couple of things that, again, I just jotted down, very basic stuff, I suppose. I think, again, Ailsa, you said something like you don't have to be a PhD to work here, sort of thing, which is obviously important that people get that message when we're talking about MedComms overall. And the great thing about what you presented is a reminder that MedComms isn't just about medical writing, client services and editing, and that's it. You know, the array of activity that you guys are involved in is really exciting. But just before I stray too far from that, just because it's a topic of conversation, always a topic of conversation, for medical writers coming in to your organization, where do you sit there in terms of how important the postgraduate, PhD, postdoc type qualification is? Can you just give us a sense of that, maybe, or
Ruthline, I think.
So maybe I can take that. Because of the specialist knowledge that you do require for medical writing, we do ask for people to have a degree. If you have a higher degree, that's great, but it's not compulsory. So we're looking for a biological sciences degree at the moment. I think moving forward, we are looking at, how we might support and bring in a more diverse group of people with different educational backgrounds. But for now, it is a biology degree, and then higher degrees obviously are welcomed.
Okay, I just think, again, there's an important point in there because it's always a topic of conversation, and for MedComms generally, you don't have to have those extra. Life science is quite important, really, for writing. The extra sort of qualifications are certainly very, very useful, although you don't have to have them. But actually, turning it into a positive, one of the things that I've always found when I'm talking to audiences is PhDs, postdocs love the fact that actually we embrace PhD postdocs, because sometimes they can be sitting there going, who wants me, sort of thing. Whereas actually this is a business that can embrace it. They come with a lot of transferable skills and experience, which is very good. So I'm just trying to get the right balance in there with that sort of message. Let's just stick with medical writers for the moment. Ruthline, sorry, let's stick with you for a moment. Just briefly, what, day in the life of a medical writer sort of thing, just give us a sense of what the medical writers are doing.
Okay, I mean, it can be very varied. So Ailsa already went through the sort of long array of materials and activities that we work on. So very much depending on which therapy area and which client you're working in, but it will vary. But so you might, for instance, be working on a manuscript, if that's what you're assigned to over the course of a day. You may be working on slides for a symposia. You may be working on an infographic. You might be working on a script for a video. So how your day progresses really depends on your assigned projects and their priorities, and which will come at different times. So you may spend the morning working on one project and the afternoon working on a different project. So it really is about looking at timelines and deadlines and arranging your day and your work on your assigned projects to best fit in with that.
Again, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but one of the things that usually comes out when we talk about a day in the life of a medical writer is just to destroy that myth that you don't sit there at a desk and just write. There's a lot of meetings and collaboration with other colleagues and sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. So for instance, if you're writing a manuscript, you would be involved in taking the brief. So you would be talking and corresponding to the authors to understand what they, what are their objectives for that manuscript? What are the key things that they want to bring home? From time to time, you may be on a call with a client, for instance, trying to understand the objectives and being actively involved in proposing what the agenda for that symposium might be. So it's not a world where you're just given a project and you sit and write. You are actively engaged from the beginning and from the initiation of a project. Talking about the objectives, why have our clients asked us to do this, or why have we recommended that project to our clients. And then there are a lot of internal things that happen as well, liaising with your internal teams. You might be talking, if you were working on a video, for instance, you might be talking to somebody from Piers' team. So it's, across our different functions, you'll be involved in liaising with those different functions as appropriate for your project.
Okay, and I'm sticking with medical writers, just one final question. And how much client contact have you got? Have you got client services people? I don't know, how does that side of things work?
We very much encourage medical writers to have client contact. So for instance, if there's a status call where we update our clients on the progress of all of the projects that are ongoing with us, medical writers will join those calls. Certainly when we start to talk about new projects and objectives, the medical writers who would be assigned to that group of projects would also be on the call with the client, because we feel it's important that they hear that information firsthand. We encourage them to ask questions, so they participate in those discussions very much.
Okay, again, well, partly what I'm trying to do here is highlight to people or make the point to people that are listening, maybe thinking about coming to MedComms. Agencies are very different, and some of the points we're touching on here are good sort of things to bear in mind when you're talking to an agency, and where your own strengths lie and where you want to work and so on. How much of this sort of, but the basic point is you don't just sit at a desk in a darkened room and write, which some people come to this business thinking. Let's just try and broaden this, because I'm quite keen to pick up on. Oh, sorry, go on.
Add on to that point. So just to speak from a digital and creative perspective, a lot of my conversations are with the scientific team. So it's one of the things is that for the scientific team, it's how we can best communicate the story. How can we creatively tell it? What's the most important thing you can convey in 8 seconds? What can we convey? What do we need to tell from a storytelling perspective? So what it does is that from a writing perspective, the way we work as strategists with them would be to not just know the data and know it inside out, we'll be able to creatively reinterpret the data in a way that allows us to tell it in an impactful way, to make it for people from nurse practitioners all the way up to key opinion leaders in an academic context, understanding this message and doing that. And in a world where we're focusing on increased personalization, what we need is scientific writers that don't just embrace the science, but are passionate about telling the story around the science. So I think if for those people that would want to be just at a desk and not necessarily challenging their own conceptions and challenging each other and trying to be smarter and better together, I think that's the kind of people that we're hoping will want to speak to us after this.
Okay, and let's broaden this out. I was going to bring you in, Piers, and broaden it out in the same way that you're talking about a little bit there, but let's go beyond writers, basically, is what I'm trying to do. But Piers, you talked a lot about transformational activity and so on, and you're on the digital side. And to get away a bit from the writers, what sort of people are you looking for what sort of people are you looking for to help that transformational sort of environment and process that you're talking about there?
We talk a lot about curiosity. We talk a lot about people who are interested in knowing what the challenge we're trying to solve for, what innovations will be best suited to do so. One of the things you have to be comfortable with digital is you can't be an expert in everything, and you need to be able to know there are technical aspects in certain areas, but people willing to understand how we can fix a challenge through collaborative, innovative thinking. So we're looking for people that want to work well with others. We're looking for people that want to do better every day. And I think from a digital perspective, we're really looking for those who are really passionate about the different ways we could start to communicate, not just today, but how could we do it better next time? So a lot about incremental innovation, and then bringing great ideas from other industries and seeing how we can actually make a difference.
Okay. There's a lot of questions and commentary going on in the boxes at the moment. I'm trying to keep up with that at the same time as listening to you guys. So sorry if my eyes are flicking around a bit. David, let's bring you in, because there is a lot of questions about the academy program and so on.
Absolutely.
And I know it's a sort of to some extent it's a work in progress, but just give a little bit clearer clues, because people are basically saying, okay, I'm hearing all this stuff. How do I get in? And what's the process?
Yeah, Ailsa's put a few things in the chat, thank you, but there's also some questions there. So Academy one, first of all, depending on the need, we run this event 1 or 2 times a year. It is open to all people who want to get into the industry. So it's not just what you might call entry-level people that don't have other work experience. You could be coming from any background. It doesn't matter that you've just finished studies. You may have done that 20 years ago, but you're looking to get into MedComms. But I think one of the things that I wanted to cover, because if you look in the chat, Ailsa has answered a few questions. In terms of the events, yes, as I said, 1 or 2 times a year, but that doesn't mean that we don't accept applications or people wanting to contact us outside of those times, if you like. And we're very happy to speak to anyone who's available now or is finishing their studies at the end of this year. Myself and the rest of the talent acquisition team in the UK will often keep track of people. So if we're in contact with somebody and we're not in a position to hire entry level right now, we would stay in touch with them. In fact, we've got a whole bunch of people for the next academy that we're looking later on this year. So the academy is set up for, as Ailsa said, for people to join, get exposure across the group. We have a 3-week program, excuse me, induction program. And yes, you get to find out a lot about the HCG group. But if you don't fit into that time period, then please don't reach out to us, because we're always happy to speak to people at any time of the year. The other thing I just wanted to check, because I'm looking at the chat, and thank you, Ailsa, for answering, but there's also the Q&A stuff. There's a lot of stuff in there about the academy, which is great, but also about sponsorship. Sponsorship and visas, yes, it can be tricky, but again, we wouldn't rule anybody out. We're always happy to have a conversation. A lot of my team, for example, will work with HR very closely as to what is your right to work status and how does it work out and how can we engage. So we'd never say never in that respect. It just depends on a case by case, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and it's good to be covering some of this off, because obviously the people watching the recording later on aren't seeing the questions and answers in the text boxes. So I was quite keen to cover all that off. Again, a question that's come up. I know you've answered it, Ailsa, but the internship question is, again, it's a common question. Do you offer internships or not? Is a simple, question which we can just cover off there.
We don't have a formal internship program. We are exploring some internship type activities under our Diversity, Equity and Inclusion Council, which is slightly separate. But as Dave said, we're sort of interested in anyone who's interested in the industry. So always just get in touch and we can see what we can make work, would be the message. Right. Yeah.
Okay.
There's another question there.
Fair comment. Cool.
There's also another question in there, I think a few of them, about how we work in terms of, I think it says hybrid work culture. I think it's fair to say that even before the world changed with COVID coming along, HCG always had a sort of geography agnostic approach to hiring people, because we go where the talent is. That being said, if you're entry level and you have no MedComms agency working experience, it makes sense for those people to be in the office as much as possible initially. But I think it's fair to say that we're very, very flexible. After, let's say, a qualifying period, everybody within HCG has the option to be office-based, home-based, or, as we're saying, they're hybrid. So again, it's a sort of a case by case. But I mean, if we look at writers, for example, it's probably fair to say you can do that job pretty much anywhere in the world, time zone permitting, but also if we look at client services, by nature of that role, it's easier and better that you spend as much time with your team as possible. I mean, what I can say in the UK, we've got 3 offices, one in the north and 2 down in the south, one central London, one in West London, and we have people from all of our agencies based there. And it's not just Synergy, Chameleon and Engagement Group. We actually have hired people for our US companies, but they are based in the UK. So again, it's I think the key word there is flexibility.
Okay. And I mean, it's interesting times, isn't it? I mean, I know MedComms was going down this flexible working route pre-pandemic, but the pandemic sure gave everyone a kick, sort of thing. Ailsa, maybe you could just talk a little bit about the challenges of managing an organization that's as flexible and as like David's sort of saying, just talk a little bit about those challenges and how you're providing training and motivation and those sorts of things.
I think that it's still changing. So what we are really conscious of trying to do is ensure that we keep all of our people connected, but that we're kind of keeping up with the ways of doing that, because we have a lot of people who are fully remote all of the time. And on our client work, it happens naturally. It's how do we bring everybody together outside of that around some of our more cultural initiatives? And as an example, yesterday at Synergy, we had a professor of psychology come and talk to us about the importance of mental health in the workplace. It was just a Q&A session and people could kind of ask questions for themselves or for others. And it's just trying to really think about what's important for people, what's going to inspire them, motivate them, make them think creatively and courageously for work, and realize that they're in a safe place, a safe environment where we want to encourage all kinds of thinking to come forward. And that applies to our client work, but it also applies to us as a group of people. So we're always open to ideas from our employees on how to do that and what the best thing is to do. And HCG, you know, is very forward thinking just around how we stay connected, and how the importance of some of the things Ruthline talked about with diversity, equity and inclusion, but also the health inequities piece, where you can channel your own passions and purpose a bit, as well as, you know, bring all of that to our client work. So it's keeping people engaged in the best way for that moment in time, I think.
And again, it's a slightly flippant comment, but how are you going to react to this? I talk about MedComms booming. I think there's a message to be put out there, which is that this is a healthy, booming business, and it's a good career to be part of. So you're nodding. Anything you want to just sort of like, do you want to extend that a little bit? It's a great time to be part of MedComms. It's a
great time to be part of MedComms. I'd echo that, and I think, you know, the technology, the pace at which technology is moving and the opportunity to be part of that is really exciting. And, you know, what we're delivering to our clients today is different to what we were doing a year ago. Like, you know, it changes all the time, so that it stays exciting. And, you know, there are just more medicines, and it isn't always like a product either. It's like you know, there are technologies we can bring to patients that isn't a traditional medicine. And I think the opportunity to be part of that as well is, you know, keeps it interesting, keeps you wanting to come to work every day.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, absolutely. Okay, well, I suggest we draw the line at that point. I'm very aware we've got more questions in the boxes and so on. So those of you watching us today, don't rush away. We're not going anywhere. We're here to the top of the hour. But I think from the point of view of recording what we've talked about there, we'll draw the line there if that's okay with everyone. I know I can say on your behalf, guys, that you're very happy to hear from people via LinkedIn is the easy way of doing it. David, you're obviously a key contact if people are wanting to get into the organisation. So I'd recommend that people reach out to you or via your website and so on. But thank you very much. Thank you to the audience here today. So don't rush away. Thank you, panelists. And I'm just going to say, let's give everyone a little wave and I'll stop the recording. Sorry, I should just say, because I like to say before everyone waves, if you want to know more about what I'm doing, medcommsnetworking.com. I need to get that plug in. You'll find all sorts of information about all sorts of stuff. So, and obviously I'm happy to talk to you. So, okay, let's give everyone a little wave, everyone, and stop the recording. Bye-bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.